All right.
Hello, Andres Barreto. Thank you all for being here with us in PLG Disrupt. And let's move on to our next speaker, Andres Barreto. Andres is managing director at Techstarts Boulder Accelerator, and his session today will be about getting to PMF on a shoestring budget. He will talk on how to speed up getting to product market fit by problem finding before problem solving, doing the right segmentation, and building a product when you have neither time nor money. Andres, I'd say this is always an issue. So welcome to Build Your Disrupt, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the invitation. For me, it is great to be able to share this with you. Um, Getting to product market fit is a journey that I started as an entrepreneur over 10 years ago, and that I have been helping other founders get to as an investor over the last 8 years. Today, I'm an investor with Techstarts, one of the top accelerators in the world, and we help founders get to product market fit faster in our 3-month program that we do all around the world. But my career started in college when I created GrooveShark, one of the first music streaming services in the world. And I created it without any connections, any experience, and of course, no money, because we were still college students. And of the many things that I learned in that experience was how not to do things and how not to think you're going to design the product that everybody's going to love and then ends up that nobody uses it. And that was my case with that company. GrooveShark was in 2006 when I created it. It was a free music streaming service. You could listen to any song for free. There was a premium subscription and there was advertising to go with it. But even though it got to 35 million users a month at some point, and then the record labels sued us out of oblivion, when I started it and when I had 2 other co-founders that led the company as well, I was in charge of leading the product and the design of the product. And here's the mistake that I did. I thought that I was a genius and that people were going to love exactly what I built. And so I designed every single screen. It took about a year to build everything. We raised around $700,000 in that first period, and we had to raise it every month because we were running out of money every month. And when we finally released the version that I had imagined after a year's worth of work with a lot of excitement, about nobody used it. Almost nobody cared about what I thought the world should have. And instead, it was a smaller team that created Tiny Song, which is a smaller version of what I had designed, that rather than having playlists and profiles and live music and all these things that I had thought of originally, it was just a search box that you'd put the name of a song, it would show a result, and you hit play. And that's it. And you could share it to Twitter. That's what took off. And that could have been built without having spent $700,000 and a year's worth of work. So that what I did for my second company, which was OnSwipe, it became the 3rd largest ad network after Google and Facebook for mobile and touch devices, a very far 3rd. This time around, because I had even less money, I had $700, that's it, and I had to pay rent and I had to pay internet. We were creating an ad network for iPad, and we could only afford one iPad. And our team was distributed. It was me and my co-founder in Miami and an engineer in Mexico. We only had one iPad, so we would just share the screen. Actually, not even share the screen. Open up Skype and then lift up the iPad while the developer coded to see the results of what he was coding. But because we had very little money, it took us not a year. It took us about 3 weeks or so to launch the first product. Then we applied to Techstarts. We raised $1 million before getting to Techstarts. Then we raised another $5 million before Techstarts demo day. And then I forgot being scrappy. So because I was able to get there and get to millions and millions of readers through our technology, we had all this money in the bank. And I forgot about being scrappy. We started hiring people. We started doing growth hacking, financial modeling. We're trying to build software that scaled. Our first version was a pretty rudimentary WordPress plugin that broke easily. But now that we had money and we had investors, it's like, all right, now we need to hire employees, build software that scale, do a financial, like all of these things that didn't help us get to product market fit. We initially had product market fit, but then we lost it when we tried to scale prematurely. So it was through these two experiences that I learned exactly what not to do. And as an investor in over 100 companies since, I've been trying to help founders figure out how to get to product market fit without burning the millions of dollars that I have done, getting there, failing to get there, and then getting there and losing it. And so what I have found that does not get you product market fit is working hard, meeting investors, winning startup competitions. Like these things are important, but that don't get you to product market fit. You need investors in order to maybe afford more time to get to product market fit. But these are not the things that get you to product market fit. These are things that help you feel like you're making progress, but you're just doing motion. So what I can do without no capital and without any connections in the beginning as an entrepreneur thinking about building a company, even if you started a company already, there's three things that you can do to help to get to product market fit without relying on capital or hiring a lot of people. The first one is to discover pain from conversations with potential customers. The second one is to design and build and run experiments to observe your customers' behavior. And the third and most difficult one is to kill ideas or experiments that didn't work. So here's the most difficult part. When people think about product market fit, they focus more on the product than the market. And they think about the product that they imagined with the idea that they had without talking to potential customers. And the way that qualitatively investors describe product market fit is when you have so much growth that you cannot keep up with demand. Investors are knocking on your door. And another analogy that I've heard is like stepping in line mine. If you're asking yourself if you have product market fit, you don't have it. And you know it when you have it. Now, that's not very useful if you don't have it or you haven't lived through product market fit. So the way that I like to describe product market fit in a quantitative approach is that you have users that retain, so they keep using your product. They don't stop using your product, they keep using your product. And then you have those same users that use your product more over time. A more sophisticated way of thinking about this is you have cohort retention of use. So out of 100 people that use your platform or your product or your service or went into your coffee shop 3 months ago, how many of those 100 people 3 months later are still coming to your coffee shop or using your product or your service? The idea, depending on the market that you have, is that at the very least, that 100 people doesn't trend to zero. 3 months later, if those 100 people are trending to zero or are at zero, or you're losing more of them as time goes on, that means you don't have product market fit. So ideally, out of 100 people, 30 still come to your coffee shop or still use your service or your product. Ideally more, you have 80. But it could be as bad as you only have one, but that's okay. Out of 100 people, only one of them kept using you for 3 months. That's fine. You have product market fit with one person. And your focus should be on helping that one person use your product more, or come into your coffee shop more, or spend more time in your platform. That should be first. What entrepreneurs like to do instead, and what I did instead, is I'm going to build this genius product that everybody's going to love. And then I'm going to focus on acquisition. I'm just going to get a lot of people through the door, and I'm going to do marketing, and I'm going to do growth hacking and public relations. And that's how I'm going to grow. I'm going to focus on getting top line growth. Now, if you have top line growth, but you haven't found a way to retain users, what's going to happen is you're going to have a leaky bucket. People are going to come in and they're going to leave. And each new group of people or each new cohort of people that you try to acquire is going to become more and more expensive. So to prevent all of these issues and to prevent you from spending years and millions of dollars doing the wrong thing, the first step you need to do is to discover pain from conversations with potential customers. And the trap here is that talking to your potential customers, what's natural to try to do is to pitch them or sell them or ask them, would you use this? That's the trap. The very difficult thing that you have to do, but the right thing that you have to do, is ideally, they don't even know you're building a company. Ideally, if they know you're building a company, they don't know that it's about the thing that you're talking to them about. And for sure, you're not selling them nor asking their opinion about what you're building. But the first thing you need to tackle in this customer discovery process is who you're going to talk to. And the who you're going to talk to can be part of the experiment. You can create a hypothesis around the level of pain and frequency of pain so that you're optimizing the group of people that you're going to talk to are the group of people that have the most pain, that have that pain that occurs more frequently, and are more likely to want to do something about that pain right now. And you're probably going to get it wrong the first few experiments. It might be that you think this group of people has that pain and it turns out they don't. And so there's about 5 different possible outcomes that can come out from a conversation with each prospect. The most common one is that the pain you imagined does not exist. The second outcome is the pain exists, but the prospect does not know they have a pain. And now this is where I made a mistake. I would go to my prospects, pitch them, sell them on it. And I know that they have the pain, but they don't know that they have a pain. So what I would do, which is a mistake at this stage, is show them that they have a pain. Don't do that. There's the third outcome is the pain exists and the prospect has identified the pain, but they're not going to do anything about it. At least not right now. And maybe most of them are never going to do anything about it at any point because they can afford to keep going. They can live with this pain. Now, we're going to get to the fourth and fifth outcome that are progressively getting better. The fourth outcome is the pain exists. The prospect has identified the pain exists, and they have quantified the cost of the pain. In the previous outcome, they had not identified the cost of the pain. Now, you'd imagine that, okay, you have the pain, you know you have it, you've quantified the cost of it, and you're going to do something about it, right? I don't always assume that. I think in my personal case, I know that I should eat healthy. I know that maybe I should exercise, eat less sugar, eat less junk food, go to the gym. I know that this is going to come back to hurt me a few years down the road. And I've probably quantified the pain that it cost me to not eat healthy and not to exercise as much as I should or at all. But right now, I don't have to do anything about it. And so I'm not going to change my behavior. The last thing you want to do is try to change user behavior, at least not in the beginning, at least not in the first group of users. The easiest thing to do is to amplify behavior. Eventually, you can change other people's behavior, but you want to start with the people that already have this behavior, and then you're going to amplify it. So now we get to the outcome that we want. When I get asked, all right, Andres, how many interviews should I done? As many as it takes until you get to the next outcome. And the outcome is the pain exists. The prospect has identified that the pain exists. They have quantified the cost of the pain, and they're determined to do something about it, whether it's with you or without you. Doing nothing is not an option for them. So that is the group of people that we want. You first create a hypothesis of the people that you think have the problem, because we're trying to identify a problem. They have a pain. You have a hypothesis of a problem or a pain. You prioritize them based on what you think is their level of pain, the intensity of pain, and the frequency of that pain. And after having many conversations, you found a group of people for which doing nothing is not an option. Do not sell them on it. I know it's going to be extremely difficult to not do what I did and the mistakes that I did, which is show you that you have a pain, show you how much it costs to not solve that pain, and then convince you to give me money to solve you that problem. And the reason why that is very dangerous, and in my case, I was very good at it, I was very good at selling people, is that eventually when it comes to implementation or retention, it falls apart. I would convince publishers that they needed my solution. I would convince customers that they needed my solution. They were going to do nothing about it anyway. But I still convinced them. And then when it came to implementation or they were using it already, they would churn pretty quickly because I had not found product market fit. I became good at selling, but I had not found that group of people for which doing nothing is not an option. Now, it is emotionally draining to get the result of it's not a pain or finding that they don't have that problem. But every no that you get saves you weeks, months, or years of painfully building something that nobody wants. Discovering that 99 people don't have the pain and one does is just as valuable. So the way I like to think about it is like a scientist. A scientist has a hypothesis and they test the hypothesis. Whether they prove the hypothesis or they disprove the hypothesis, it still pushed science forward. Now, how do you have those conversations without pitching, without selling, and without asking leading questions? My number one recommendation is go and buy the Mom Test. It's a book that is extremely easy to read, and it has many, many questions that you can copy from so that you can do the right type of customer discovery. But in short, the short version is 3 things. First, you talk about their life instead of your idea. They should never find out what your idea is. In fact, you should try to delete it from your brain that you have any idea of what you're going to be building. Your brain should only have the mindset of, I'm an anthropologist, I'm a scientist. I'm going to discover and observe behavior so I can discover a problem. So you're going to talk about their life and their past behavior instead of your idea. 2, because you're talking about their life, you're going to ask specifics of their past behavior instead of generics. So it would be like, tell me the last time that you ordered food to your house. How long did it take? What did you order? And you ask questions like that so that you're learning from them. You're not pitching them or trying to get confirmations of your ideas. And one way to avoid getting confirmation of your ideas is avoiding asking questions that you can answer with a yes or a no. Keep it simple by asking questions like what and how. That open-ended questions are way better and you're going to learn more from those questions than yes or no questions. And please avoid doing forms, not at this stage. Don't do forms at this stage. You want to have open-ended conversations that you can double down on a particular thing that they said so that you can dig and discover the pain. And then the third and last thing, after you talked about the idea, you asked about specifics of their past instead of generics or opinions about the future, is that you should talk less and listen more. So the opposite of what I'm doing now. You should talk less and listen more. The moment that a prospect starts talking about features or an idea, like, oh, it would be so great if I could get soup delivered to my house through pipes, just pivot away from whatever they said and then pivot into something that was about their past behavior. Oh yeah, Andres, tell me about the last time you had some soup. What soup flavor was it? Right? So you want to avoid anything that is hypothetical, wish list, or features. This is where you can save yourself the most amount of money and the most amount of time. Now, let's say that you nailed it and you found the group of people that are going to do something about it, whether it's with you or without you. This is information that you discovered about their past behavior, but now you need to observe their behavior, their present behavior, with the hypothesis that you're going to build. That if that pain is really true, then this solution will solve it and will observe their behavior. So that is also 3 steps. With the problem defined, think of the result of the solution. Don't think about your product, how you're going to solve it. Think of the result of the solution. If the problem is that I'm hungry at noon in the office, then the result of the solution is I'm no longer hungry at noon in the office. Then, after you have defined the problem and you have thought of the result of the solution without thinking about what you're going to build, you're going to pick a launch date. The only variable that does not change is time. So I guess that's the constant. You're going to pick a date not based on when you think you can build your solution, but rather we're going to launch on this day, and that's the constant. And we're going to launch on this day at this hour, and that's the constant. And now that we have the constant that we're going to launch in 2 weeks, next Wednesday at 4 p.m., no matter what, now you define what you're going to build. We only have 2 weeks, and the result of the solution is that I'm not hungry at noon in the office. So with this constraint, it will limit the amount of things you have to build, because you're not testing whether you can build that technology. You're testing if this is really a problem. And if you solve it, even if it's manually, even if it's you showing up with food to the office of this person to see if they'll eat it and they pay you for it, you're just testing that this is a problem that they're desperate for. And because that's what you're testing, the third and final step, after defining the problem, thinking of the solution, putting a launch date, and using that as a restriction of what you're going to build, you hand the product to them. And if you can, you observe them while they're using it. And if it's a digital product and you cannot be physically with them because it's creepy, most of the time it's going to be creepy, especially now that we're working from home. A lot of people are working from home. At the very least, observe the user behavior inside the app or the product. And that can be done using software, analytics software. And the final and most difficult thing for entrepreneurs, at least for myself, was not letting ego get in the way of my success. And the first version, the second version, the fourth version are probably going to be wrong. That's okay. The idea is to reduce the period of time that you discover the way to not do it. And if you don't let ego get in the way of your success, you're going to be able to kill ideas or experiments that did not work and move on quickly. And with that is how you can get to product market fit faster without spending millions of dollars or too much time. Learn from my multi-million-dollar mistakes. Don't make those mistakes again. And with that, we'll open for questions.
Thank you very much, Andres. That was a very valuable, for sure, and insightful presentation of your experiences and all the mistakes that you have made. And indeed, they are the most valuable lessons out there, especially for businesses. Let me see if we have any questions up to now. We have a few minutes. Right now, we don't have any questions coming up. But nevertheless, I would like to thank you for being here in PLG Disrupt. And of course, I would like also to invite everyone from the audience, if they want to connect with you, they might reach you, of course, in LinkedIn. And if you want to ask Andres anything, you might DM him right there. And from our side, thank you once again. And wishing you all the best to all of your endeavors.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.